Hey Sprocketeers, T here, your friendly neighbourhood Sprocket subreddit moderator, and I welcome you to the third-party engineering and acquisition of British Armour Group, or T.E.A.B.A.G, competition round 9, the results. As the finale round of Act 1 of our little alternative World War II, it's only fitting that this results video should have an extended build-up, don't you think? Yes, exactly. I agree entirely, so I hope you enjoyed the suspense while waiting for this exorbitantly late video to come out. I'd apologise, but at this point I think you've heard it all before, though I must say I have high hopes for Act 2, which will launch on the 26th of December, by the way. I'm putting together a team more than double the size and making various changes to the whole process of each round that should lighten the load on each member of my team and enable us to both keep to schedule and avoid burning out before the act is finished again. But you didn't come here to find out about round 10 onwards, you want to know the results of round 9. So let's get onto that now without further ado. For the finale to Act 1, I set you what I intended to be the toughest challenge yet. One which would draw on all the sprocket science you've been honing over the past year. The aim was to build a tank suitable for the roughest terrain, and to be able to climb the steepest slopes, all while using a characteristically T.E.A.B.A.G woefully underpowered engine. I must say, I'm glad we used this challenge idea when we did, since subsequent patches have largely trivialised hill climbing in the game by greatly increasing traction. But at the time this challenge was set, and indeed at the time of recording, on stable branch still, getting a tank up the 30-degree slope or higher is no mean feat. And to carry infantry tank armour, 4 crew, a decent gun, and both ammo and fuel enough to make the trip worthwhile with only a pair of bus engines under the deck, that, I think, was a challenge worthy of the occasion, as our 21 qualifying entrants can hopefully testify. Yet, as ever, you all rose to the task admirably, and you should all be very proud of your work. I am certainly proud of you, especially to see how far some of you have come during the course of this competition. Thank you to everyone who took part. Without you, there can be no competition, and as ever, a special thanks to my team of assistant judges for all your hard work in getting us this far. I really could not do this without your assistance, and indeed your fellowship. Now, that's quite enough of my prattling on. It's time we address the reason that you're all here, the results. First up, it's the aesthetics category. Detail, era appropriateness, national identity and X factor, that being a measure of innovation or flair or wow factor, are what we are looking for here. The bronze medal for aesthetics goes to the Claymore Mark I by Comrade Gopnik. The silver medals were awarded to the LIA No. 9 Sergol by 28th Stab Wound and the AHI LIT Stout by Albino Creeper. But the category winner is the A22L Claymore by Unicycle Corn. My goodness, there's just so much to see on this tank. Attention to detail is truly a hallmark of any Unicycle Corn entry. Let's take a rundown of my favourite features on this beauty, shall we? I love the driver's position, the headlights, the weathering, the decals, these air intakes, the chains, the custom suspension, this basket of clutter, TM, the early British cruiser style brake drums, these exhausts, and these dirty, dirty fans. This cupola design is also pretty innovative, and it's that innovative use of stock parts and detailing that bags this design full marks for X Factor too. The best way to gain points in that subcategory has always been to come up with creative new design techniques, and I've stolen many from Unicycle Corn over the past year. The Claymore couldn't get much more British if it tried either. Easy points in this category come from having an appropriate set of British World War II decals. Furthermore, this track type is easily the closest to British track patterns of the period, and you can't go wrong with the Matilda turret because it's glorious and beautiful and graces the front of any turret you put it on. A suitable amount of riveting also contributes to the national identity score. at least until we get further into the war, since the British were still mostly reliant on this construction method at the time T.E.A.B.A.G Round 9 was set. That will be starting to shift in Act 2 though, you have been warned, Rivet Gang. I'm afraid progress is a cruel, aesthetically disappointing mistress. Again, these brake drums really add to the British feel of this tank, and the Claymore stands as a fine example of how you can create something that is unique and original while still paying homage to the British tank design language, and to really tie it into the place and period of the setting. You don't have to build a replica to max out that national identity score. All in all, as I'm sure you'll agree, the Claymore looks very much the part, and the level of detail and creativity goes above and beyond. The tank feels believable and lived in. You wouldn't bat an eyelid if you saw this model roll out in World of Tanks, for example. Impressive work as ever, UnicycleCon. You are our worthy winner in the aesthetics category. Next up, it's the sales pitches category, where your sales pitches are assessed for salesmanship, being in period and in character, for their visual presentation and for depth and detail. Bronze medals in this category go to the Caprine 13T76L by Crunchy Gender Fluid, the AHI LIT Stout by Albino Creeper, and the KTP Mark 13 by Pedro1_1. And the silver medalists were the Black Iron Nemesis by Terrianis and the A28 Cougar by Dralo, which leaves the AMC Inkerman by Comic79 to take the category win. Wow, what a treat this pitch was. First off, what immediately stands out about Comic79's pitch is the presentation. From the hand-drawn, presumably traced blueprints, to the company logo, the typewritten document aesthetic, and the black and white photos held in place with staples, this, folks, is as close to perfect presentation for me as you can get. It's not the absolute flashiest, nor the most eye-catching, but it feels like the real deal. In fact, the visual presentation is so on point, it spills over into the in-character score, because with the company logo and the signatures, etc., it all lends itself to grounding the pitch in the period and setting, and I love it. The language within the writing itself is also suitably old-fashioned in tone and the choice of words, and the two contrasting characters who are writing to us are also distinct. Another really neat touch is that the exemplary salesmanship of the tank is contained within the company chairman's letter, while the depth and detail of the design itself is provided by the company's chief engineer in a subsequent separate letter. Not only is this immersive, but it also clearly allows both subcategories to shine in their own right. I particularly enjoyed how the chief engineer insists on typing the number and then the number expanded in words in brackets afterwards. It was a nice quirk that really added something to that section. By this point, Comic has already done enough for the category win, but was clearly gunning for a perfect pitch score. A beautifully typewritten stat sheet, followed up by these lovely annotated blueprints, really seals the deal on a 10 out of 10 for depth and details, and for visual presentation as well, as if we weren't already convinced. Bravo Comic79, you clearly put a lot of effort into this pitch, and it paid off, earning you this category win. We move on now to the Proving Grounds category, which, as you would expect, tests the mobility of your designs over the Sandbox Maps obstacle course. Our bronze medalists for the mobility category are, well, a whole bunch of you actually. The A22L Claymore by Unicyclecorn, the AMC Inkerman by Comic79, the LIA No. 9 Sergol by 28 Stab Wound, the TRV M32 Ibex by Blackston27, and the Behemoth Benedict by the Dogfather. Phew. Meanwhile, the Black Iron Nemesis by Terrianis and the KTP Mark 13 by Pedro1_1 took the silver medals. But the winner is the MB A28 Cougar by Dralo. Mobility, not speed, but all-terrain mobility was the name of the game this round, and consequently, we saw the best performances so far on the Proving Grounds, with almost all of the tanks managing the trenches and bumps as if they were no big deal, and naturally, due to the minimum specification of being able to climb a 30-degree slope, the entries in this round all put in hill climbing performances that would have previously been considered outstanding. This means that setting yourself apart in this category required something special. The Cougar is that special tank. Quick to accelerate and nimble thanks to its clutch braking steering and relatively short wheelbase, the Cougar feels responsive and easy to drive. It also picked up both marks available for reverse speed. The Cougar can handle all 3 trenches without issue and glides nicely over the bumps without jostling the crew too much, thanks to a well laid out and tuned suspension, so full marks there as well. On the hill climbing front, there were 2 points available for conquering the 35-degree slope and a whopping 4 on offer for the 40 if you could manage it. Sadly, no one did manage the 40, but the Cougar picked up the 2 points for the 35. With this put it on par with the best of the rest, and the ability to climb the 0.75 meter step obstacle was enough to nudge it 0.5 ahead of the silver medalist, so the category win. The Cougar put not a foot wrong on the proving grounds, only failing to pick up points that none of the competition managed to win either. A sure-footed and agile performance befitting of its feline name. Well done, Drallo. Your tank was a pleasure to drive. And last but by no means least, we come to the specification criteria exceeded category. Here the raw stats of our vehicles are compared against those set down as requirements in the specification. If you manage to exceed the specification in any area, you will gain points for that. There are also sometimes some hidden metrics that you can gain extra points in. These will usually reward tanks which have supporting stats that would benefit its intended role in particular. Now, the bronze medalists here were the A22L Claymore by Unicycle Corn, and the Behemoth Benedict by the Dogfather. And the silver medals for specification criteria go to the KTP Mark 13 by Pedro1_1 and the Claymore Mark 1 by Comrade Gopnik. But the category winner is the Ben Nevis by LegoDudeLol 9A. At a smidge over 14 tons, this is one of the lightest entries in the field, and so the Ben Nevis scores well for weight saving. Otherwise its stats table doesn't look overly impressive. Half a mile per hour over the minimum speed, the bare minimum fuel and ammo to match the requirements, but it does have excellent gun depression though, at -19 degrees. In fact, its gun handling is, in general, excellent, as is its turret rotation speed. As such, this tank can lay its gun on target faster and more reliably than any of the other tanks entered into this round, and that definitely counts in its favour. Where the Ben Nevis really shines though, is in its armour. Frontal protection doesn't drop below 240, yes, 240mm RHA effective no matter where you aim. And the side armour is consistently over 152mm, that's 6 inches thick. That's insane. And of course this nets full marks for armour protection. While the armour and gun handling are impressive, they alone wouldn't be enough for the category win. The Ben Nevis's secret weapon is that it achieves all of this while utilising the dreaded twin Leyland bus engines. Now, I'm hardly the world's best sprocketeer, but when it comes to weight saving and making the most of low-powered engines, I'll dare to consider myself better than most. But meeting the specification with the Leylands was a real challenge even for me, so I never expected anyone to exceed those requirements quite to this extent while using that engine. Anyway, successful use of these feeble diesels bags you a bunch of bonus points, and enough to put the Ben Nevis in the category winner position. Jolly good show, LegoDudeLol 9A. With our category winners suitably celebrated, it's time to turn our attention to our overall runner-up and winner. But first, a brief mention of our bronze medalist. Third place overall, and the T.E.A.B.A.G Round 9 bronze medal, goes to the KTP Mark 13 by Pedro1_1, with a total category score of 36.25 out of a possible 40. Another really solid entry from you again this time, Pedro. I'm just sorry you missed out on one of those top 2 spots. And now, ladies and gentlemen and friends, your T.E.A.B.A.G Round 9 runner-up is none other than the A187 Valentine by Luminous Lily. Luminous Lily is probably our single most successful contestant at this point, and she has refined her craft down to a fine art. The Valkyrie Motorworks pattern of tank design just works. You don't have to like it, but you do have to respect it. This, and this, and this, and this, see the pattern? This is what peak Sprocket performance looks like. It might not win every single round, but Valkyrie Motorworks designs are almost guaranteed to be in the top 5, and usually in the top 3. The A187 Valentine is, of course, no exception. In fact, it fell only 0.25 total score points behind the overall winner. That's right, the battle for the lead simply could not have been closer. Now, Luminous Lily is most famous for her sales pitches, true enough, but it would be a mistake to consider that the only strength of her tanks. Far from it. The secret Valkyrie weapon is actually this relatively tall, relatively boxy hull with a somewhat hexagonal cross-section. Why? Because for a given size and weight, it grants almost unparalleled interior volume to work with. Essentially, the closer you get to a sphere, the more efficient your armor to volume ratio is going to be. Luminous Lily gets alarmingly close to optimal without the thing looking completely like an egg instead of a tank. All that extra space for a given weight allows her tanks to excel at the specification criteria exceeded category. The Valentine here, for example, crams in a dedicated radio operator, 1,000 litres of fuel, that's double the requirement by the way, 120 rounds for the cannon, and an armour profile that has more in common with a Tiger II tank than anything weighing 17.5 tonnes has any business having. But that's not all. On the proving grounds we can see that Lily has also mastered suspension and transmission tuning. This tank is not one of the lightest in the competition, but it is one of the fastest, at 22.4 miles an hour. It makes short work of the trenches and bumps, it can climb the 35-degree slope, and it can mount the 0.5 meter step obstacle with no issues. It picks up full marks for reverse speed, and its acceleration is pretty good too, though not the best. The Valentine's mobility party trick, however, is its perfectly set up twin transmission, which allows it to gain the neutral steering point while also picking up the point for good handling. This is the holy grail of T.E.A.B.A.G mobility testing, as in so many cases these 2 points are all but mutually exclusive. So to gain both is almost like unlocking an extra point that you can score over the competition. Aesthetically, the Valentine falls behind the best of the best somewhat. Don't get me wrong, Lily clearly puts the effort in, and there's nothing bad about the Valkyrie Motorworks design language. In fact, I've always said I enjoy that there is a very clear design language running through all her entries, as you would expect if Valkyrie Motorworks were in fact a real company. Luminous Lily has also clearly taken steps to improve the aesthetics of her designs as the months have rolled on, and this is surely one of her most detailed designs yet. There's just nothing particularly revolutionary going on here, than I'm afraid that patented hull shape, while very efficient, remains sadly somewhat ungainly looks-wise. Finally, the sales pitch for the Valkyrie Valentine takes the form of the latest and perhaps greatest chapter of the Valkyrie Motorworks tank lesbian saga. I'm just joking. While the story is assuredly well written and engaging, and it was nice for Sir Charles to feature at this time too, all of that is just setting the scene for the pitch proper, which is what is actually being scored. And as ever, Lily shows her characteristic writing talent here. You are transported to Sir Charles's estate, and you can almost see Caitlin Cogsworth flipping through the slides in front of you while providing all the depth and detail you could hope for. Only the salesmanship, I felt, wasn't quite Lily's best this time around, yet still a firm 9 out of 10. As ever, you owe it to yourself to go and read Lily's pitches. Even if you skip the narrative, read the pitch within the narrative and then take notes. It's top quality stuff. All in all, the Valentine is an excellent tank, presented excellently, and one which came agonizingly close to victory in this round. Well done, yet again, Luminous Lily. You are our runner-up this time. And now, good people of the Sprocket community, it is my great pleasure to present to you the winner of T.E.A.B.A.G Round 9. It's the Versuchswagen 29 by F. Cave Troll, and I'm sorry I probably murdered the pronunciation of it. Anyways, it's always exciting to get a new winner in T.E.A.B.A.G. Congratulations, F. Cave Troll, you've been a very strong contender since the earliest days, and your ship finally came in for the finale of Act 1. The Versuchswagen 29 is an unusual looking tank, but one which puts in sufficiently strong performances across the board to edge just a hair's breadth ahead of Luminous Lily's design. Let's break it down then. Firstly, specification criteria exceeded. This was a category where the Versuchswagen really shone. In fact, it even slightly outperformed the category winner. To clarify, for those not yet familiar with how this works, we add up the total scores and then remove the winner and runner-up from the field. Then look again and award the category wins. This means you won't see the winner or runner-up winning any medals up to this point. This is chiefly so that more of your amazing designs can be showcased per video. Back to the stats of the Versuchswagen. Well, this has long been Cave Troll's forte, and the Versuchswagen thoroughly lives up to expectations. Weighing in at just 17.4 tons, and with an impressive top speed of 22.5 miles an hour, the Versuchswagen boasts a dedicated radio operator, 750 litres of fuel, 110 rounds of ammo for the cannon, 17 degrees of gun depression, all-around excellent gun handling, and a truly phenomenal armour layout, with 243mm protection minimum across the entire front of the vehicle, 93mm on the sides, and an unparalleled 57mm of protection on the rear, and even above average roof and belly armour to boot. There's true heavy tank armour on this little mountain goat. And it just so happens that Cave Troll managed to predict the weightings for specification criteria in this round almost perfectly, and by and large managed to maximise their score without straying into excess beyond our scoring criteria and thereby wasting weight. On the proving grounds, again, the Versuchswagen puts in a top-class performance, coming top equal with the category winner. As you'll see from this run that's hopefully playing for you right now, Cave Troll's tank accelerates quickly, can handle the trenches with no issues whatsoever, is capable of climbing the 35-degree slope, takes all 3 sets of bumps in its stride, handles nicely thanks to clutch braking, and can even manage the dreaded 0.75 meter step obstacle, making it an impressively mobile machine. Aesthetics-wise, this is, as I said, a curious looking tank. In a way, I'm not sure I even like the look of it, but I keep looking at it, and I don't get any more sure which way I'm leaning each time. It kind of fascinates me, and so, as weird as it may sound, I really like it because I can't decide if I like it. Of course, the standout aspect here is that great slab-sided looking hull. At first glance, it seems almost ugly and uninspired, but when you look closer, you realise what we have here is something far more unique and interesting than first impressions would imply. What we are looking at here is actually a much smaller tank with a very extensive add-on armour kit. In fact, if I understand it rightly, the theory here is that this tank's armour system is intended to be almost entirely modular, thus allowing the tank to be more easily repaired while also gaining the benefits of spaced armour by default. And while visually this approach looks rather boxy, what I love about this design is that the add-on armour isn't just for show. There's not just an exterior layer here and the rest is left to your imagination. If we go into the designer now and we start removing these outer panels, we can uncover the tank within, complete with extended driver's viewport to reach out to the armour casing. But where it gets really special is when we start dismantling the side armour here, and we get this. You'd never see this angled plating unless you started to take the tank apart, but it is there, and I love it. Very cool, very original. Take a 10 out of 10 for X Factor, why don't you? Beyond that, there's good detailing here too. Not world-beating, but very good. I especially like the extensively customised roof MG and this cluster of smoke launchers at the back of the turret. While the Versuchswagen, as befits its name, doesn't immediately strike you as a British-looking tank, closer inspection reveals everything we need for that score. The right track type, a largely complete and correct set of British decals, riveted construction, the Matilda mantlet. It's a solid 9 out of 10 for national identity, so while it doesn't shine aesthetically as well as it does in mobility and specification criteria exceeded, it offers enough innovation and attention to detail to earn a handy 9 out of 10 overall in that category. Finally, the sales pitch for this tank was, sadly, very short, and could have scored even higher if we had only had more of it. Nevertheless, the premise and characterization are interesting and consistent, and I appreciate that this is integrated into the overarching narrative of T.E.A.B.A.G. The photos are plentiful and well framed, but these documents at the end are beautifully done and greatly help the presentation score. I'm just sad that I can't read them. Depth and detail is found to be a little wanting due to the short length mainly, but we do get an exhaustive rundown of the tank's statistics and, crucially, some expansion and explanation of non-gameplay but lore-relevant details about the tank, which also really helps. Consequently, F.Cave Troll's pitch does just enough to keep the Volkswagen 0.25 total points ahead of Luminous Lily's design to clinch the overall win in this round. Congratulations again, F.Cave Troll, on your first overall win, and a very well done for truly conquering the toughest challenge I've set yet for you guys. And so another results video draws near to its close, but there's just time for one more thing, an honourable mention. And this time the honourable mention goes to the Dogfather for his extremely unique design, the MT1 Behemoth Benedict. When you're trying to build a hill climbing tank in Sprocket, there are supposed to be certain rules you follow to make that work, like many small diameter road wheels, supple torsion bar suspension, and low weight, among others. The Behemoth Benedict throws pretty much all of that out of the window, however. If we remove the side paneling here, you will see that instead it only has 4 sets of utterly massive train wheels on each side, and to add insult to injury, they are connected to the usually awful HVSS bogie suspension. To make matters worse, because why not at this point, this tank was the heaviest one entered into the competition at 19.98 tons. It literally couldn't be any heavier and qualify for this round of the contest, and yet, well, look, I think it's best if we just watch it doing its thing on the proving grounds, so roll the tape. No, your eyes do not deceive you. It truly did just climb the 35-degree slope and the 1 meter step obstacle. That's not supposed to be possible. Sadly, we weren't even testing for the 1 meter step, so it had to settle for a maximum of 2 step climbing points from the 0.75 meter step. Anyway, well done the Dogfather. You really have well and truly wowed me with this one. I just had to honourably mention it. And with that, T.E.A.B.A.G round 9, and indeed the first act of T.E.A.B.A.G as a whole, finally draws to a close. And so must this video. Yet again, I'm so sorry you had to wait so long for it. I hope you enjoyed it now it's here. Do give it a thumbs up if you did, maybe leave a comment. Every bit of positive feedback does wonders for the morale. And if you want to make sure you get to take part in the first round of Act 2 of T.E.A.B.A.G, do consider subscribing so that you don't miss anything. But now, it's high time I shut up and let you get on with the rest of your day. So, until next time, take care out there.